Joining us as a guest today, we have published fine art and portrait photographer, visual artist, and storyteller, Loren Toney. Welcome to the table, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. I'm glad for you to be here. I'm glad for you to be able to be in community with me and to be able to share a little bit more about your journey with both myself and our people far, near, in Chicago, not in Chicago, because they deserve to hear it. I think from knowing you and from talking to you as friends and from learning about the little bits of your journey, I think it's well deserved that you have the space to talk about it. I think that it's important work, and I'm glad to be able to give some light to you today, to be able to expand on all those things and, figure out what that process has continued to look like for you.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. This is such a fun experience and or an awkward experience between the both of us, because it's we're so casual and we have these conversations, period.
Yeah.
So now that we're in the space to be able to just draw that conversation out and really give the time and effort that's necessary is super exciting to me. So thank you for having me. It means a lot to me. So happy Pride.
Happy Pride.
We're doing it.
We're doing it and we're going to continue to do it. So we're going to jump right into it because I want us to get to the nitty gritty.
Let's talk about it. Let's do it.
Let's talk about it. So to kick us off, can you describe your style as an artist, the different scenes that you've been able to create in, the different things about it that inspires you, and what vibe you typically go for?
Okay, cool. I'm definitely going to have you repeat a couple of them questions once I get in there.
But it's really just about your style as an artist.
Oh, for sure. My style as an artist, my thing that I always tell people is I want to elevate what real life looks like. I am very much so an observer more than I am a scene creator, if that makes sense. I navigate art through asking questions and genuine curiosity and wanting to fully understand people. Because I tell people all the time, people rarely tell the truth straight out of their mouth. And you got to kind of ask certain questions. Yeah, you got to ask in backwards way for people to really kind of show you the kind of person that they are. So as far as the spaces and scenes that I create in, I tell people all the time that I'm so grateful that photography has brought me to really interesting places. My camera has gotten me into spaces where I can photograph live music and sit down with an artist before they go on for their set. That's a very intimate situation, and I live for
also
intimacy.
Very exclusive.
Yeah.
You get some exclusive opportunities.
It's so weird when people say that, because when I'm in it, I'm just I'm a girl with my camera and I'm just here. But I also am starting to realize people are wow, you've done really cool things. And I just am very grateful that my camera has brought me into different spaces that have allowed me to know people I would have never had the opportunity to know. And that's one of my favorite parts about it. I love getting to know people. And so I've done puppet photography for theater. I've done portraiture. I've done documentary work. I've done editorials. I don't know. I've done so many things, but I think what I bring to every single environment is I try to assimilate to whatever environment I'm in and notice the culture of that. Because theater has a particular culture. Puppetry has a very specific culture. Music has a specific culture. And I kind of want to be a fly on the wall, Yeah. I want to let people do their thing and observe it and be I want to elevate this. Not even going to lie to you, I'm sitting in this room right now having a conversation with you. And my brain is I can make a photo out of this. This moment feels so intimate.
You have the eye for it.
Yeah, it's I can't not add emotional meaning to very small things. Even when you picked up these cards and you had them in your hand, my brain is thinking in close-ups. Yeah. So I think that I am deeply inspired by real life and being in the present moment as best as I can be, because it's real easy for me to not be. So photography is kind of an anchor that I use.
Yeah. I feel you do that really well, because I was briefly looking through your portfolio to make sure I had everything right. And just being able to see all of the different environments, one, that you have been able to capture, authentically. I see it and I see the moment happening. I don't see this person, taking photos or being a photographer. I see the moment happening. And I think that that's what I find most beautiful about your work, is that you're able to place yourself into that space and into that scene, that time, wherever it's at, through the visuals that you provide. And it covers so many realms of spaces, like you said, with the theater and live music, and even editorial and more landscape. Like you do a lot of different things. You really are a very talented person and being, and to see it continue to come to life and to hear that, you know, you've been able to continue to be in these different spaces and be invited and have the opportunity to grow that. I love to hear it, and I'm happy to see you continue to grow in these different areas.
Thank you. And this is something I want to talk to the audience about. This happens really often where if you're an artist, hear me right now. A lot of people try to pigeonhole you into one or two things. They're like, pick one thing and do that thing really well. This is humbly put. I'm a representation of, I do all of it. Like, as Darius is saying, like, I love portrait photography. I love landscapes. I love live music. I love editorial. Like, I'm a multi-hyphenate artist. And if you want to be a multi-hyphenate artist, you can be a multi-hyphenate artist. I would argue you're a multi-hyphenate artist and you do it well. Exactly.
Okay.
So, like, I think that and that ties into the queerness thing, right? Like, we're taught so much to, like, you have to be a thing.
Adaptability.
You need to do this, and you need to be palpable for all people to be able to understand who you are and what you do. And, like, you need a brand. But also not having a brand is a brand, you know? And that's also okay. So I think, like, yeah, like, as queer Black people have been trying to tell us who we are our whole lives. I don't subscribe to that, so.
And won't. And everything that I'm doing is because now that I want to do it. And like you said, like, we have been placed into these boxes and these social images, but now we're not living in that world anymore. We're learning how to cultivate our lives to be what we want it to be, and to tell the world and narrate our own stories and show up, you know, how we want to and not how other people want us to see. So I'm glad that you've been able to do that and lean more into your queerness and lean into your Black queerness. Because that within itself is multidimensional and multifaceted Black queerness, you know, experience and spectrum. So
for sure, just
seeing that experience, that knowledge, that insight and talent come from that and grow from that is beautiful. So I want to ask, how have you continued to grow your talents through your identity and through the work that you're doing?
That is a fantastic question. Thanks. Yeah, you did that. I always tell people I have, like, a very complex relationship to my queerness. I think as a young person, I always had an inner knowing. And you know how, like, a lot of people that have our inner knowing, we're closeted. Like, we put ourselves in a closet in a shame way. Mine was never navigated through shame. It was always like, this is something that feels really intimate and organic and authentic to me. And I kind of want to keep that close to my chest. And I don't want to give that to people until I'm ready to give it the attention that it deserves, right? I grew up being, like, bullied for different reasons. And I mean, not really like the queer thing, but, like, I was a chubbier kid. I was a little weird, and probably because I was queer. I feel like there's a thread of, like, awkwardness or misplacement or discomfort that comes a little bit more readily to queer youth than I think it happens for, like, straight youth. And as of late, as an adult, I've only been out, like, 2 or 3 years. So, like,
congratulations.
Thank you. And it was when I needed it to be. Like, it very much so felt like a coming into my own rather than a coming out of a closet.
Yeah,
like,
you're inviting other people into who you've already known you were.
That is the perfect way to put it. It was never I don't want people to know. It was, well, I'm still navigating that for myself. And until I'm ready to show that to the world, I don't want to show it to the world. And I think there's this interesting dichotomy of how I present as an artist, though, because me as an artist is the antithesis of that. I create stuff and I kind of don't care if people think it's good or they think it's fantastic. I'm gonna put it out, you know? And I think that helped me balance those energies. But as an adult, what I'm using my queerness to do is connect with other people that had similar stories to me and or the ones that had the different stories. Because a lot of Black queer people that I know, a lot of their queerness is so heavily rooted in the trauma of that experience, like feeling like people were super homophobic towards them, or like feeling like they were afraid of being caught at being gay. And it's just like, I didn't have that experience. And I think it's important to acknowledge that. And I'm gonna elevate my parents and my family for a second, because like, I just didn't grow up with homophobia in the same way that a lot of us do. And so I use my story, like I write about my story a lot, I talk about my story a lot, because my queerness was always rooted in love. I want people to know that, like, we can raise our kids to be like that now. We don't have to put our kids through like this very traumatic thing. And I feel like the youth feel that and they know that. Like they're out here, they're being themselves. They know queer flags and pride stuff that I don't even know. You know what I'm saying? Like
these youth these days,
I'm happy for them.
I'm so happy for them. I'm so proud of them. And I'm just grateful for the space that we and our forefathers and ancestors, the people who identify, the same way as us, has paved the way for them to be able to live the lives that they truly are meant to and destined to live, and can do so authentically and so freely and joyfully. I see so many queer youth enjoying themselves, and that to me, it doesn't make me upset that I didn't get it, but it makes me so happy that somebody else does, and that they're able to use that to live a better life and to live a more happier life and to pass that on to other people.
And I agree with that. That's the perfect way to put it. I navigate my queerness through joy. Like I'm intentionally so like, I'm so happy to be here. I'm happy to be this person. I talk about it freely. I take it a lot less seriously. Like it's a very lighthearted, like fun thing for me.
It's a learning journey.
It is. And it's just like, there's a youthfulness that it brings to me because it's like, for a lot of people that are either late bloomers or later in life queer people, like you kind of miss that opportunity to be that silly, romantic, goofy person when you're in high school. And it's like, now I feel like a teenager again, which is a whole nother thing. But I think I navigate that through my artistry and storytelling of like trying to amplify these kind of voices. So like, for example, my project Vignettes, which I've talked to you about, I've talked to Terrell about, like all of our friends know about it and we'll be a part of that.
Yeah, exciting.
I want to amplify especially Black male queer voices, because I think that y'all have this dichotomy that is just like incredible, where it's like everything that people wanted you to be, you're not. And you have this beautiful sense of like, I've told you this, when we hanging out on Wine Wednesdays, I'm like, I've never been in a space that's like just full of Black queer people. Like I stopped and I saw what we were doing. I'm like, this is a bunch of Black queer people talking around a table. Like,
and it's intentional. We're same way with this. We're intentionally creating spaces to make people feel seen and loved, like, and welcome. Like we want you to feel like you belong here and that we actually care about you, because we do.
Yeah, and it never doesn't feel that way. Every time I've been in your home, every time I'm in your presence, I'm like, this is such an inviting presence. And I, want to give that back to y'all. But I, want y'all to be able to express some of those hurts if you want to. I want y'all to be able to feel safe enough to tell other people that have the same journey as you, like, hey, I made it through, and this is how I made it through. It's like, almost like this Vignettes project, which is a documentary project, of course, about Black male masculinity and navigating that. I want it to be like a guidebook for other young Black men or youth and things like that. And I think that y'all are paving the way in a really wonderful, really intentional, really kind way that people that are taught they need to be super masculine aren't often afforded that opportunity. There is a genuine softness and warmth that I feel like. My best friend Austin is a queer Black man, like, and I don't think I've felt a friendship as intimately and deep and soft as the one that I have with him. And I want other people to see that, because like random, especially white people that see y'all on the street got a completely different understanding of who you are. And I hate that, honestly. And that's why I lead with curiosity. I ask questions because I have my own biases too, right? Like I can see a person and make an assumption and I could be completely wrong. And that's why I love conversation. I love, being in somebody's home. A lot of vignettes happens in intimate spaces for people. And it's like, I give them the power. Like they are the person with the upper hand when I'm making these images of them and things like that. Yeah, it's their space, their story, their way. So yeah, I hope that answered your question.
It did. It answered that one and so many more. So I thank you so much for sharing and being vulnerable with that. Because I know it takes a lot of thinking and process to get to that level of understanding of not just your queerness or your Blackness, but where you are as a person and how that continues to show up in the world and the things that you invest in. So thinking about that, how are you continuing to reinvest in yourself and the things that you care about?
That is an excellent question. I, as of late, have been, I write a lot, I think a lot. I do a lot of that. I do a lot of that. I do a lot about thinking of it. But I'm also in this space now where I think I've acquired a lot of knowledge about what I'm going through. And I'm in that space now where I have to take the information that I've learned and actually put it into action. And that is the hardest part of it. Knowing what you should do and doing what you should do, two different ballgames.
Yeah, it is.
In ways that I do that is, I recently picked up pottery. And
I've noticed.
It was something that I've always wanted to do. I saw the movie Ghost when I was a kid, and I saw the little like love scene where they was like doing the, they were like making a piece together, and I was like, I want that. That's the life I want to live. And so I was like, I'm gonna go try that, and I deeply fell in love with it. And the way that that's a reinvestment into myself is I'm a perfectionist. And I learned very quickly in pottery, you can't be a perfectionist. Like, you're kind of taught, like, you're going to mess a bunch of stuff up. Like, the first day you sit down in a pottery class, they're like, we're not taking any of this stuff home. Don't try to make something perfect. We're here to do this. Pottery is a skill. You can't be a perfectionist. And it allowed me to let go so much, you know?
Did it teach you something about life?
It did. I think that prior to taking that class, I took life really seriously. And I mean, I'm still learning how to not take it as seriously, like, and just be in a moment and accept it for whatever it is and just like have that. But it taught me that like, you have to mess up to do great things. When you do something for the first time, it's always going to feel a little cringy, and being cringe is not something to be afraid of. Like,
it's not. I'm learning to be okay with that.
Yeah.
Cringe.
Like, and I feel like cringe is such a thing that's like imposed upon you. Like, for me to impose cringe upon myself is kind of crazy. Like, I'm adding this stuff that other people are expecting out of me and being like, ooh, I can't do that because other people are going to think it's weird. And I don't want to be that person. So when I was in that space, it was like, I'm learning that it's okay to make something in a moment, and it doesn't have to be amazing or great or beautiful. It can just be that thing. Or that the more you try something, the better you feel about doing it. It's not about how it looks, but like, how do I feel when I'm in that environment? How do I feel when I'm in that space, right? So I think that's the biggest thing that it's taught me about life is like, life ain't perfect and it's not meant to be. So push through.
Yeah, keep pushing. Keep striving and keep thriving, because that's what you're doing, is continuously learning how to thrive and doing it the way that you want to do it.
For sure.
You're creating your own story.
Exactly.
You're creating history for yourself and your family.
I'm trying.
You are.
I appreciate that.
You are. You gotta say that. And I'm telling you that because I'm also talking to myself, because I need to keep saying that too.
I was thinking the same thing. As soon as you said it, I was like, no, you're doing that. You know, like, it's so...
We can go back and forth if you want to.
That's the thing. I feel like it's so easy to be like, dang, like, I can really acknowledge what that other person is doing. Mm-hmm. But when it's time for me to be like, look at all the stuff you've done, I'm like, oh no, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
And it's a hard, like, line to walk, you know? And I appreciate you saying that, because it is something that I also need to do. So I hope you're doing it as well.
Yep, I am. I am. No, I seriously am, because the more that I talk about what I'm doing, the more I know I want to make history, and I know that I currently am, but being a Black queer person and being in this societal realm of the way that people have perceived us, and, you know, just see our work and our worth, I'm moving out of that space. I see myself in a much brighter light, and I'm leaning into that, and I'm learning how to advocate for myself and how to tell people what I'm doing and be proud of it. Like, I'm already proud of it, but being proud when I talk about it and not saying I'm trying something, I'm doing it.
That's real.
I'm doing it. We're creating history. We're creating movement. It doesn't stop here. It's going to continue to go, and it won't just start with me or end with me. It'll continue to translate into other people, into other fields, other professions, other conversations, and it's going to hopefully change lives.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted this space to be, and for other people to come into this space and see it as a way for us together to change lives and for the better, for our people, for the people that care about us, for the people that support us, and the people that come before or after us, because sometimes we inspire older people and we don't even know it.
That's real. I've had those kind of conversations. I also want to say, before I move on from that, I heard you say, hopefully we'll inspire lives. You're already doing it, or change lives.
You're right.
You're doing it now. Like, I think, like, me having, like, even on a micro level, like, you offering me this space is so important to me, because, like, 3 years ago, pre-out me, would be like, I can never imagine myself being on a like show with a friend and like identifying openly as queer and like being able to be a part of this conversation, you know? And there's a whole nother like, we could get real deep into the deep dives of like...
We'll save that for wine night.
Exactly.
Exclusive only.
No, literally, it's not for y'all. But yeah, for sure.
That's good. That's good. And I really am grateful to hear all the things that you're able to continue to do and the way that life has treated you. Because I think that acknowledging that there have been points of our lives where we have felt more of that support and that love, and it has, you know, changed our trajectory of how we see things and how we engage with people. I think that that's beautiful. And so I'm glad that you have been able to have that and you pour that into other people. I feel it when we're together and when we talk and have conversations, so I know other people feel it as well. So thank you, Loren, so much for being here with me at the table, sharing so much about yourself, but in a way that is really just you kind of talking about what you've been doing and who you are, because that's the most important, is just seeing ourselves as our most authentic versions. And I get that, and I hope everybody else gets that, because this is our true us. And we're going to continue to do that and be that and shine a light on our community, on the things that we're doing, and on more conversations. So I really do appreciate you for being here with me, for sharing space with our people and our community, and bringing more love and light into everything that we're doing.
For sure. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Anytime, any place. You don't just got to be here. Like I said,
one Wednesday.
Okay. Okay. But that does conclude us for today. So amazing. I really hope that you've been able to receive something from me, because I definitely received a lot from you.
Oh, 3,000%.
And hopefully everybody else does as well. So
amazing.
Y'all already know we'll be back next time with more Black queer folks being represented at the table. But until then, peace out.